Hey, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. On the subject of telling the truth, especially in the beginnings when people are children, that's when it starts to become imprinted in them about telling the truth. And sometimes for a lot of children, it's simply not safe to tell the truth. And a case that comes to mind was of the boy that was caught stealing something from the library when the kids went to the library on an outing from school. And so the note was sent home to the parents, and the parents duly went in. After talking to the boy, they went in to have it out with the headmaster, because he should have been more on top of the bullying that had made their boy take the book, and they had put it into his bag without him knowing it, and the whole thing was a complaint. It was a mistake. Well, they went in, first of all, just the two parents, to see the headmaster. This is before the boy was called in, and they had an open, adult-only conversation, and it turns out that the boy was lying. He had in fact taken the book, and he had admitted that he'd done it to the headmaster and said he was sorry and everything, but he was afraid to tell the truth, so when he went home he told a completely different story. Now, this is how ingrained that fear can be. They arranged that the boy would be brought in, and they decided between the parents and the headmaster that they would simply see what the boy said. And so when he came in, the father said to him, "Now, can you tell the headmaster what happened, about how you were bullied? Just confirm that this is so. You were bullied and you didn't know that the book had been put into your bag, and so therefore it's not your fault, and it's a clear case of being bullied and being tricked and all of that." So the boy nodded and said, "Yes, that's right." The headmaster was quite nonplussed at this, and said, "Oh, come on, Jimmy, you know that that's not true. We had you in this office yesterday, and you admitted that you had taken the book." Well, it was the devil's own job, even at that point in the discussion, to get the boy to admit that he had done it. Well, he finally had to admit, more in quiet submission rather than saying, "Yes, I did it and I'm sorry." So it was left at that he would be punished for what he had done by the loss of some privilege or another, and that was it. Well, it just illustrates that people can have a fear of telling the truth that is quite irrational. Now, when we have this kind of a situation, the only thing that can be done, and there are so many different situations that can occur that would need to be covered if you try to do every single event, every single incident, it would be almost impossible. But what you can do is you can make it so that it is safe for the person, whether adult or child. It's safe to tell the truth. It's safe. In other words, one of those things that you should establish, that if the person, especially a child, if the child knows that if he tells the truth, he will not be punished harshly, then you have a chance of making it so that he will grow up as a person who is courageous in telling the truth, because he will know that it's better. My own saying is, and we have learned this along the way here since we've been working our mission, and that is, you can't be busted for telling the truth. Now, if you've told the truth, how can you you can't be found out. So that's what I believe. Now, for me personally, I went along doing the same thing that everybody else does. There's what you call the permissible lie. The permissible, acceptable lie is the one that you can be having the worst possible day of your life, and you walk out the door and you pass a neighbor, and the neighbor says, "Hi, how's it going?" And you say, "Fine. Hey, doing good. Everything's fine. Thanks for asking." And of course, it's not true, is it? The rationalization for that would be, why would you spill your guts to someone who's just passing? And it's not going to happen. So in the end, we cobbled together this policy of what would be acceptable for telling the truth and what would not. And then we decide how we're going to behave. Now, I know that when I was in the army, I would see senior ranks that were senior to me, and that wasn't hard because I hated the army so much. I never had a rank. I went in a boy soldier and came out a private, even though I had the qualifications to be a sergeant. Well, that didn't happen. But I saw that if anybody was taken up on a charge, that they were charged with some misdemeanor, some act which was against the rules and regulations, the person who was charging them would lie in their teeth absolutely about what happened. And they would do it knowing that they didn't care whether the person who was being charged knew or not, because obviously he would know if it was a pack of lies. Well, I quickly learned that anybody can tell a lie to get himself out of trouble. And so I used that the same as they did. Now, when I came out of the army, that was something that I had to correct, because this is not the way to go. This is not the way to have any kind of a spiritual correct life. So you have to learn to tell the truth. Now, we're all a work in progress on telling the truth, all of us. I watched a video talk on the channel TED, TED, and TED have great talks by knowledgeable people on all kinds of different subjects. And one of the subjects that was there that I enjoyed was the subject from someone who was extremely clever in being able to tell if someone was lying, and that's a study in itself. In fact, there was a very popular program, a show in the US, and it was called Lie to Me. And in it, the man is an expert in people, whether people are telling the truth, and he was called in as an investigator, and by the body language, by the way that they spoke, all of this, he was able to tell if the person was lying or not, sometimes to their detriment and other times to their advantage. Okay, and I remember seeing a very interesting program once before about President Clinton, and they looked at the way that he presented his case. One of the things, interestingly, before I finish off this, interestingly was, if you hear someone make a denial and they make it in marked phrases, Now, the most popular one, the most popular quoted one of Clinton was, he said, "I never had sex with that woman." And apparently there is no greater indication of a lie than if somebody does that. So that was very interesting. Anyway, it seemed to me that it was a worthy subject to talk on, because one of the things that's necessary in establishing trust in a relationship is that the other person has to believe that you are telling the truth. And that belief should be based in the truth. So there can't be any secrets between you about your life as it is unfolding. Now, does that mean that you have to tell every single thought that you ever had in your entire life? No, it doesn't. Because some people elect to hold some parts of their past. As long as it's not injurious in the holding, then that's okay. Now, in a couple of the advice letters that we have dealt with, what we've had is where people have, by omission, there are two forms of lies. There are the lie of commission, where you actually do something, say something, and then there's the act of omission, where you omit to say that something has happened. And one or two of the lies of omission that have come about in the letters that we've had and given advice on have been where a lady has a child and does not say that that's her child. So we have to make an effort to tell the truth. And as I said, there are things that you're going to say which are untrue. Like the very, very common one between married couples is if the husband says to the wife, or the wife says to the husband, "Is there something wrong?" And the partner says, no, it's okay. And it's obviously not true. But of course these are, as I've said, these are acceptable lies which you work through. You say, "Oh, come on, I can see that something is wrong." And then he or she says, "Well, I'm a little bit upset because you did this." And the truth comes out. It usually does. So thanks for looking in. This is a foreigner in the Philippines. And that's the truth. Bye for now.